Hello, can you please state your name?
My name is Carlos Bravo.
What year were you born?
I was born in 1980.
Alright, can you please tell me 3 historical events that have happened in your lifetime?
The first one that I remember is the big one, the fall of the wall in Berlin. The second one would be the dismemberance of the Soviet Union, where the Soviet Union was separated into many different countries. And I would say the third one would be which one I said before. I would say the European Union. Europe becoming together into a whole union where we got the euro from Spain. So we got the euro, we changed coins, the currency changed, and you could work and study in any other country in Europe. For me, being from Spain, that was a major thing. That was something that completely was a game changer. That was it.
Why? Can you please tell me
why?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, those 3 events, at least me being from Spain, changed the whole way, the whole relation we had with other countries, or the way things work in your own country. So I think that was a major thing within Europe. There's 3 shocking moments that are distributing even countries or the borders or things like that.
What do you remember from the event? You can just name one of them. What do you remember?
From Berlin, well, just one day in TV, I think it was an evening. They were like throwing rocks, like hitting the rocks and celebrating that Germany was like coming together. That was a major division. I was a child back then.
Alright, that's it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Hi, please state your name and your age.
My name is Tom Swearingen, and I'm 66. I'll be 67 in 2 weeks.
Happy early birthday. Alright, can you please tell me 3 historical events that happened during your time?
I was born in 1949, 2 weeks before 1950. And I grew up in the 50s and 60s. The most traumatic event I remember was the Kennedy assassination in 1962. I was in the 7th grade, and the librarian came into our math class and told us that the president had been assassinated. So I think they may have they didn't let school out early, but I remember walking home with some friends talking about it. And then that whole half week was, tributes and the funeral and everything, which was very traumatic because that had not happened since 1900 when McKinley was shot as our president. And most people had forgotten or didn't remember that as because it had happened 62 years earlier.
Adil Hassan, please come to the main office. Adil Hassan, please come to the main office.
We watched a lot of reruns, and then there were some other things that happened right close to that period that was associated with that, and it was sort of an upheaval. And so that was the first one. The second one was probably the Vietnam War. It occurred in the starting in 1960 about, and went all the way to 1972. And it was very controversial. It gradually got escalated by the United States because it was a difficult situation fighting in jungle, and we were fighting against the communists, the North Vietnamese, and part of the problem was the Chinese were backing the North Vietnamese, and so that was a difficult situation since they were communistic too. And we've always sparred with the Chinese. And then eventually there were a lot of protests on college campuses. I was in college at the time when they instituted the draft for males across the country. They hadn't had one since World War II. And they drafted a lot of people into the war. My number was 126, somewhere in there. And they only took people with numbers 1 through 120.
Wow.
So I was not drafted. And eventually, President Nixon ended the war because it was a stalemate and it just wasn't going anywhere, so we got out. And even though a lot of people were happy, it was still controversial, and nobody really, we didn't win the war, and we spent a lot of money trying to free the South Vietnamese. So a lot of South Vietnamese people came over to the United States to live because they were, not welcome there anymore. And then the third one was probably 9/11. I was driving to work to another town, I was going to Pinehurst, Southern Pines, to work with someone, and I heard over the news that the tower had been hit by, they thought, a small plane. And then a short time later it came over that there was another plane that had hit the second tower. So they knew then that something had happened that was not an accident. And that incident changed our lives in this country because it sort of became the war on terror, and almost 3,000 people were killed, innocent people. And the thing that was good about it was that it brought a lot of the country together. A lot of people had American flags on their cars and things like that. And then eventually it affected me personally because my son was in Iraq for a year. And so he was involved with the Iraqi war.
How did you feel? I'm going to go back to the President Kennedy. How did you feel when he got dropped? Are you a 7th grader, you said?
I was 7th grade.
Did you have any, did you feel anything, or were you just...
Well, we were all sad about it. My family did not vote for President Kennedy, and some of the things that he espoused weren't necessarily things that we were for, but it was the president. And, so it was very difficult to face. But the thing that was good for people to see was that when something like that happens, our country has laws in place to have a new president come on board, the vice president. And so it was this easy transition into another president. It was definitely a sad time.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much. Hi, hello, can you please state your name and what decade you're from?
Sandy Childry in 1960s.
Can you please tell me 3 historical events that happened in your time?
The big 3 that I remember is the first one would be the Challenger explosion, January 28th, 1986. I was sitting in calculus class at NC State, and I did not believe it. And I was literally glued to the TV after that. Another big one for me would be 9/11, particularly because when everything happened, I saw the second plane hit. Was watching TV because the first plane had hit, and I happened to be in my planning period, so I wasn't teaching a class at the time. And then later that morning, one of the secretaries came to get me because they thought there had been a bomb threat at my children's elementary school and knew I would be upset and want to know. And it turned out there was not a bomb threat in my child's elementary school. And for the third one, I remember the evacuation of Saigon and seeing all of the helicopters, the live video feeds on the news and everything of the helicopters landing on top of the embassy trying to get people out. There are a lot of other things that come to mind, but those are the big three that jump to my mind first.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
State your name.
My name's Dan Rahor. I am a social studies teacher here at Athens Drive, and I will say I'm in my 40s and was born in the 1970s.
All right. Can you please tell me 3 most significant historical events from your time?
Well, I would say one of those most significant events is the election of President Barack Obama. I found that to be historical, and the fact that obviously being the first African American president, especially after just 40 years earlier going through the civil rights movement, and so yeah, that would be definitely a big historical event. Another one obviously would be 9/11 and the impact that it had on the United States with trying to fight terrorism. Of course, we're still trying to do that today. But I just remember the fear after
Andy Strom, please come to the main office.
Another,
Andy Strom, please
the
come
last
to the main office.
of the historical events that I remember was the Space Shuttle Challenger exploding shortly after liftoff in Florida, and part of the reason that was is because of, I guess it was really cold that day, and then there was faulty O-rings as well. But that was a big deal because it just went to go and show like how uncertain the country was for, or not the country, the space program was, that it wasn't 100% safe at the time, the space shuttle, which, you know, we had come a long way, but it was a terrible disaster.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep. Is there anything else?
No, it's not. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Haja.
What decade are you from?
The 2000s.
Can you please list 3 most significant historical events that have happened in your lifetime?
9/11, the impeachment of the Brazilian president, and what is going on in Aleppo right now.
Why are you? Hi, please state your name.
Ahmed Jaroush.
What decade are you from?
Pardon?
What decade are you from?
The 60s.
3 historical events that happened in your lifetime.
In the 70s, the death of Egypt President Jamal Abdel Nasser. The Israeli invasion of Lebanon in 1982. And September 11th.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
What decade are you from?
Pardon?
What decade are you from?
The 60s.